I'm about to blow your mind with the applications that we're going to be able to build using Rapid APIs. What are Rapid APIs? Well, let's come to rapidapi.com, and we're in their API hub. So again, when I talk about APIs, think of it as our restaurant example. The waiter going to the kitchen and bringing us back our food. We don't care how the kitchen gets it or where it's coming from or how they're preparing it. All we care about is getting our food. And that's what we're going to do using Rapid APIs. So what is Rapid API? Well, it's a platform that has a bunch of pre-existing APIs and endpoints that we can hit that if we send it certain information, it will return us different results based on whatever the application is. So let's look at an example right away because it's probably going to help you better understand exactly how these are working. And then we can look at, what's going on here because you're probably still super confused. So let's actually just dive into an example and see what happens when we use something like this with Bubble. So let's come and select finance as our category. And we want to select coin ranking. So let's click that. And again, ignore all this stuff. Don't worry about it. It's probably super confusing and it looks like a lot of stuff's going on. But we just want to laser focus on a couple of things and you'll understand everything that's going on here. So say a client comes to you and they want to build an application that gets the prices of certain cryptocurrencies. For example, they want a user to come in, click a button, and it returns them the price of Bitcoin, for example. So once we've selected an API that we're going to use, in this case, coin ranking, you can see all the endpoints that we're allowed to use and kind of what they have available to us. So we have get coins, we have get coin price, get coin price history, et cetera, and they have a ton more options available that we can use. So how does this all work? Well, let's break it down. So you can come here to endpoints, and that's where we are right now. Come to about, and this is essentially going to tell you what this API does. So you can see, use it to integrate with cryptocurrency prices into your app or website. And without this, you'd have to build this on your own. There wouldn't be something pre-built unless you're using something like Rapid API. You'd have to go out and build this functionality yourself, which obviously it then is not no code. And that's what we're here to do. We're not here to code. So we can also click on tutorials, and they'll tell you kind of how the API works, people discussing how they've used it in the past or problems they're running into, and then the pricing. We're subscribed to the basic plan here. So it's free up to 10,000 a month calls, so that's pretty good. Unless you're building a super big application, you have a bunch of users, that's when you would look at upgrading maybe your pricing or subscription model. So let's look at example responses to see if this is even something that is of value to us. Remember, all we're trying to do is get the price of Bitcoin. So if it can return us that, then we should be okay. So let's come and see what it gives us. This is going to be all the information that we would be able to display on our Bubble application. So if we clicked a button, we'd have access to all this information. We could display the symbol, the name, the description, 24-hour volume, market cap, et cetera. You have access to all of this information, and we didn't have to build any of it. So how are we going to work with this? Well, we haven't even been introduced to code, and we aren't going to be. So what do? Well, just like OpenAI, we came and selected a curl command and copy and pasted that over instead of trying to understand what all this means. So let's do that. Let's select the dropdown, and you'll come all the way down to shell, and you'll select curl. There we go. Much more manageable. We're familiar with what this does. We can simply copy and paste this into our Bubble API connector, and we should be good to go. So let's head into our Bubble editor and see how we can display this information and use this API. So in our Bubble editor, we have the API connector, and we want to add an API. And we'll just say coin prices, or we'll call it crypto. And then inside that, we're going to have another API call. So we'll delete the one they already have for us so we can import the curl. So delete that. And now we have this import another call from curl like we've done previously. We'll just simply paste that curl command in here and import. And look at that. Again, it provides us with all the information, and they're all in the boxes where they should be. So that's great. Let's just give this a name and call it getcoin so we know what it is. And remember, again, this is super important to use as an action and not a data so we can actually see that in a workflow. Now, there's one important thing to note here. When we did this in a prior lesson, it automatically put parameters and what needs to go in our parameters or our body. This did not. So how do we get that? Well, let's come back and look in this middle section here and see what we have to do. So great, it provided us the Rapid API app, the header, the key, the host. What do we need? This required parameter. So we have all these optionals, which are, of course, optional. We don't need those. But we do need this unique identifier. So we need to copy our UUID. Whatever they have here is exactly what you need to copy in the parameter. So we'll add a parameter. We'll say UUID. And for the value, we're going to copy that string of letters and numbers, and we'll paste it in. Great. So let's initialize this call and see what kind of response we get. See, we get a response. Let's come to the raw data. And look, we received all of the information we need to display on our application to get the Bitcoin prices. You can see these are all the live prices that it pulled. So we should be good to go. So let's go to our design. Let's, of course, drag a group over there. So we have our group. Now what do we need? Well, a button so we can get the price, and then we need to display that price. So we'll need the text box. So let's do that. Let's call this submit. And we will fix this later. We don't have a state variable yet, so leave that blank for now, and we'll come right back to it. So we have a submit button, or we'll actually call this get Bitcoin price. Boom, just like that. Let's go to the workflow for that. We'll actually do it through the button. So add workflow. And then see if you can remember what we do. We go to plugins. Now we have this crypto get coin. Crypto is not spelled correctly, but nonetheless, we get it. Get coin. And now we have these API keys here. Again, you probably don't want to have these. So let's go back and let's fix that, because I do not like having those publicly available. Let's select private and reinitialize that call. We'll save, come back to our workflow, and they should be gone. Now, the next thing we need to do, because we are not providing any parameters on the user side, we're doing it in the back end. So we'll just set our state. So we'll come to Element Actions, set a state, select that group A, create a new custom state, and we'll say coin price. And this is just going to be a simple text. We'll create. Actually, you know what? Let's go back. Let's delete that. Let's delete that and make it a number, because it is going to be a number. So coin price. And we'll select number. So create. There we go. We're setting the state variable. All we need to do is get the result of step 1. So whatever the price is going to be. And then we have all of the information available to us. That is so cool to me still, that just like we didn't even have to build anything. It's already provided for us. I can get anything in regards to Bitcoin and display it on my application. And all I did was copy and paste stuff. I didn't do anything. So super cool, always surprises me still to this day. So we'll get the coins, Bitcoin. Actually, I think we'll select coins price. And then so we have a red error. So what does that mean? Let's look at the issue. So it says value should be a number, but right now is a text. Okay, so it's returning us a text, but we wanted a number. Let's try a different option. Let's get the coins. Let's see what they have available. Let's see if Bitcoin price is a number. Okay. So it is still not a number. Value should be a number. Right now it is a text. And let's go check and see if we can't see if we're doing something wrong. Let's go back. Let's back to our plugin, and we will reinitialize the call. So let's go through this together and see how we can fix this. This is good that this happened. This is something we should cover. Let's go down to where we were getting the coin price. So you're looking over here for coin price. Where is it? Did we pass it? Right here. So coin price, $43,792, and it's listed as a text. We want it to be a number, so let's change that. Let's change it to number, and we'll save. Let's see if that didn't fix our problem. So we have coins Bitcoin price, but we want coins price because we just changed that to a number. And look at that. We changed it to a number. Our state variable is set to accept a number, And now we can go ahead with the coin's price. It's giving us that blue highlight color, which means it's good to go. And we can preview what happens when we click this button. One thing we do need to do, though, is display that information. So we'll come here, insert dynamic data. We'll select group A, and then we have that custom state we made, which is the price. So now we should be able to just click this button and get Bitcoin's price, and that is super cool. Let's go to preview. And we're going to be in debug mode, it looks like, of course. So we'll get price, and we'll see what happens here. Run next. We'll run next. You can see that result of step 1, we have all this information here that we could display. We could display the URL, the coin name, symbol, et cetera, but we're just glazing over that for time's sake. And we selected coin's price, which is 43,743. Run next, and it should populate right here. Of course, we could, format this better by putting a $sign and then taking some of these decimal points off. But you get the idea. And that's a super simple example of how to use these Rapid APIs. But that's not all I want to show you. I want to show you another API from Rapid API that we can use that maybe displays a little bit more of the capabilities available to us. Because that's pretty simple. We click a button, we get Bitcoin's price. Cool. We didn't have to do anything, but it's not the coolest application in the world. But I want to show you one more example before we move on, just so you can see some of the capabilities available to us by using these Rapid APIs. Let's go back. You can see we're in the food APIs. So I want to type in fork and spoon. So we have this fork and spoon API. So now we're on this fork and spoon API, and you can see the endpoints that they have available to us. Now, essentially what this API does is, say we're traveling across the world and we're in Rome and we want to find restaurants in Rome. We can simply type in the city we're in, click submit, and it should return us a list of popular restaurants. So let's look at what endpoints we have available to us and what we're going to use to make this work. Well, we want to select restaurants and we want to select autocomplete. So you can see here that it's taking one parameter and it's a city, so Milan. So if we look at this code snippet, which again, we don't want to pay too much attention to, but you can just see it's one parameter, it's a text, and it's the city, and the result should return you with restaurants. So let's see how this is going to work. Well, remember how we did this? We didn't write any code. All we did was copy and paste. We're going to do the same thing. Grab that curl command. We'll select the shell, then curl. And all we have to do is copy and paste this again and come back into our bubble editor. See, we have the crypto get coin. Let's add another API, and we'll call this food finder. So food finder. Computer being super slow. Great, there it is. And let's expand this and delete the pre-API call they give you. And now we'll import curl command that we just copied. Copy that. And again, it puts all the information exactly where we need it. Let's give this a new name, though, so we know what it is. Oh, my slow. Let's go. Food. And again, remember, use as action. Always make sure you select action or you won't have access to this. Again, we also want to select private on these API header keys. And then we want to add the parameter. So what was it? Let's go back and look. We see it's text, so we want to call it text, and then it's just a city. So very simple, text, and then we have a value, which we'll type in Milan, and then we can uncheck private. That allows the user to input Milan or whatever city they're in by themselves without us handling it in the back end. So let's initialize the call. So initialize. Then you can see we got a successful response. Show the raw data, and here's everything we need. So we'll save, come back to our workflow, and again, we're in that button workflow. So what needs to happen when they click the button? Well, let's do the same thing. Let's go to plugins. Let's go to our food finder. Now we have this parameter. So right now, it's not dynamic, but we need to make it dynamic. So we'll select the input A and its value. So we have the value from the user now. Now, what's the next thing we need to do? Well, we need to set that state variable again. So let's come set a variable, select state, group A, and we have a variable that I already made called food. We'll delete that and do it together. So we have create a custom state. We'll call it food. And for this, it's going to be text. But this is important here. It's going to return us multiple entries. So you need to make sure you check this text box or checkbox anytime that the API is going to return you a list of items or multiple items. So let's create. Then for the value, we do the same thing we did in our previous steps, which is get the result of step 1. So select that. And this, we want to select autocomplete. And then to get each of the restaurant, we want to come down and select each item's name text. So that should get us each item, like each restaurant in that list that it's going to return us. That's how you get multiple items. It's just going to be each item's and whatever that name text is. So let's close that. And let's go to our design UI. Make sure we're displaying that list. So we'll get the group A's food, and it should display the list now. Now we should be set up to see if this doesn't work correctly. Let's go in. Let's type in Milan. Submit. Run through our steps. Run next. And you can see it returns a list of restaurants. And again, we didn't have to do anything to make this happen. It's so easy just to copy and paste this stuff over that's pre-built for you, and it gives you this type of information. I mean, we could check some of these restaurants. I've never heard of any of these. But Milano 37 looks like a pretty fancy restaurant. So, I mean, it still blows my mind, again, that we're able to do this. We're able to copy and paste pre-built API endpoints, store it in our Bubble application, connect to it, display it on our own app, and just like that, if a client requests something like a travel application or a finance application that gets cryptocurrency prices, you can literally do that in a matter of no time without any code and knowing how any code functions at all. Really, all we did was copy and paste that curl command, display it on our application. So as you can tell, this gets me super excited to continue on in this module. I hope it does for you too, just so you can start seeing some of the possibilities and capabilities available to us. So let's get right into the next lesson because it just keeps getting more exciting as we go on. So I'll see you in the next lesson.